we live in a fantastic region here, and I consider myself very privileged to be part of this area, living in this area, part of the community, and this beautiful part of the world. I'd also, before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners of this region, who are the Gubbi Gubbi people. So I'm going to use a bit of technology to keep myself up to 10 minutes. Apparently that's how long I've got. So here we go. Now, this presentation, I've been asked, I volunteered to do this presentation, in fact, I remember, about technology. And technology is a very difficult subject to present on because it just keeps on moving so fast. I'm going to go through a few things in this 10 minutes, and you don't need to scribble down any notes or record anything, because this presentation is going to be available on our Facebook page, and I'll give you a link at the end of the presentation where you can see where to see it. So just listen to what I've got to say, and anything you need to know you can look up on Facebook afterwards. Okay, information technology. The great thing about it is it just keeps on evolving. I don't know if anybody recognises one of these. This will give away your age if you do. I could say it's the greatest new gadget. Maybe some people think it is. This was my first computer. It's a Sinclair Spectrum. Do you know it, Julian, maybe?
Yeah.
You do. 1982, vintage 1982. It was brilliant at the time. To actually see anything with this computer, you had to connect it up to your TV set, plug it into your TV. It had a massive 16 kilobytes, that's 16,000 bytes of memory. And if you switched it off, everything was lost. So you could save your data, but to do that, you had to connect a cassette recorder, and you press play and record at the same time, and you listen to this thing whistling when it recorded whatever your data was. So that's technology, and at the time it was fantastic. Okay, we move on. The latest fantastic, which many of you will have in your pocket, is now a similar sort of thing, except it's got 16 gigabytes probably of RAM in it. If you don't know, 16 gigabytes is 1,000,000 times 16 kilobytes. That's 1,000,000 times more storage in that thing than that computer I showed you that I first started with. Things just keep on moving on. So how I'm supposed to tell you what to use is going to be a very difficult thing to do. I think the point about technology at the end of the day is well, actually there's one more thing to show you. Yeah, it's not just getting smaller, it's moving to the cloud, whatever the cloud is. Now, I know Jeff wants to ask me a question at the end, and I'm sure he's going to ask something related to the cloud. I'm not quite sure. I am going to leave about 30 seconds for questions at the end because I've only got 10 minutes. So very short questions are okay. We'll see if I can explain what the cloud is later. Because the point is that technology actually is just to provide tools. It doesn't matter what the technology is. The most important thing is that it's about you, first of all, looking how you want to improve your business. So I'm actually going to detract a bit from technology here and say, what is it you want to do? My tip of the month is actually going to be a set of questions. It's going to be 4 questions for you to ask yourself, and they're all related to how you can use technology to help you, with your business, improve the profitability. And there are basically only 2 ways to do it. You can either improve your sales or you can reduce your costs. So whenever you're thinking about technology, I would suggest you think first why you want to use it, and not, wow, that's a great new shiny object, what can I do with it? Okay, think what you actually want to, what your business needs, and that's your responsibility. I would also suggest that you don't just do this once, but you also make a note in your calendar to do it once a year, because as we've seen, technology keeps moving, it doesn't stand still, and next year everything's going to be different again. So whatever you've done today, next year might be completely wrong. Unfortunately, that's the great thing about technology. So if I get on to the 4 questions which I think are the most important one, the first one actually is related to a question that I've heard so many times, in fact, during the mentoring program, or a statement that's actually been made when we talk to mentees. Somebody will say, in fact, it's often the first thing they'll say is, I need a website. I need a website. Okay. The question is, why? Why do you need a website? Can you answer that? And in fact, that then goes one step further back. The question is, who are your customers that you're actually trying to address? And how do you best reach them? Technology is just a tool. It's not going to magically bring customers in. If you use the wrong technology, it might not help you at all. A website may be appropriate. Facebook may be appropriate, depending on your business. In fact, we were having a little discussion before this meeting about when Facebook could or could not be most appropriate. Email is a popular way of sending things out, although I have to say, I think email is definitely going to be on the decline with the way that filters are removing incoming emails, but there are ways to do it. Now, this is actually an example where I put a link on the slide, and you can look at the slide on Facebook afterwards, click on that and read up some more if you want to think about using a tool to help you send email promotions out to your customers. But for me, I would say the most important thing is to talk to your existing customers, because they're going to have probably the biggest hint about how did they find out about you. That might actually give you a clue as to what the most appropriate technology to use to actually reach your customers. We're talking about increasing sales here, getting more customers. Putting a new website up isn't necessarily the most appropriate thing. I should be plugging all this stuff, but as I say, I'm wary with technology. The second thing about sales is also making life easy for your customers. Don't make things more complicated than they need to be. The sales process should be slick. And there are many examples of how you can make things difficult with technology, as we all know. And one that I've seen, and one of my pet bugs, as it were, is when I get sent an office document, which is all right if you happen to have your laptop handy, but when you try to open a Word document on a phone, it starts getting tricky sometimes. At least send a PDF out if you're going to send an attachment out. PDFs are a lot easier, and again, I've sent a link for those of you who still use Windows. There's a link to a program that you can run on Windows. Better still, you might want to think about using the cloud to store your documents and send people just a link. Then they actually only need to go with a browser to look at the document rather than actually having a word processing program. I think that's what I did for this presentation to Sarah, possibly. I did. That's why I practice what I preach. Okay, the other side of it, looking at the tools to help you bring your customers in, make it easy for them. The other thing is to reduce your costs. Probably a few of you are still running your business on computers in your office. So tomorrow morning, your computer doesn't start. And it just so happens your backup probably wasn't done when it should have been done, or you don't know where it is, or other. What happens next? Your stuff, basically, certainly for a while. And how much is that going to cost you? There are alternatives to that, which is to move your data to the cloud. There's lots of backup up there. There are a couple of alternatives which are very easy. They plug in and it's even transparent on your computer. You wouldn't even know the stuff's being backed up. It all happens in the background. But if push comes to shove and your computer does crash, it's very nice to say, it doesn't matter. I've got all the stuff there. I can just get another computer and carry on again. The same applies to your software that you're using, not just documents. If you're running MyOp on your local PC, which many of you still do, I'm sure, bear in mind, the same applies. If your data goes, if your disk crashes, your MyOp data will be lost, unless you've got a backup handy. There are online alternatives. Xero is one of them, which also, we have an accountant in here somewhere. I saw him. There he is. That's right. I hope you'll verify this. But a second advantage of moving online with your accounting software is that it's immediately available for your accountant. So there's no more of this sending files around and all the rest of it, which means your accounting fees are going to be less, aren't they, Wayne? Okay. So that's saving costs. The anniversary, I call it, the IT anniversary. The fourth point really is once a year, make a note in your calendar, check what's changed since last year, since I installed everything or set everything up. And just look if there's a cheaper way of doing things. And I do this myself. Again, I practice what I preach. I have a note in my calendar. This is for home. And I found out in May that I could get internet now, unlimited internet, for $29 a month from Pennytel. The link's up there. You can do it too. I couldn't believe it, checked it, I do it, I switched over, it's all good, and I'm saving myself quite a bit of money every month now on my internet costs, and the same with the phone. So, same applies to you, just check every year how things are doing and look for alternatives. So, to summarise, with 16 seconds to go, IT is about providing you with a set of tools for your business, okay? Choose how you want to get to your customers first, choose what it is you want to do with your business in terms of saving cost, then choose the appropriate IT. Don't do it the other way around. The other thing, important thing, look at using external services, whether it's cloud-based services or software, and professionals as well. Don't do everything yourself. Concentrate on your business, on what you know. And the review annually, I've already said. Thank you very much. My time is up. Just to point out once more, the Facebook page where you can find this presentation and click on all the links to the stuff that I've just very quickly mentioned is Facebook Business Mentoring Noosa. It's pretty easy to remember, I think.